Hello and welcome to Round 6 review for the Supercoach Hub NRL podcast. I'm joined with Mr. Charity as usual. How you going, Mr. Charity?
I've seen better weeks. You'll know by my Supercoach score when we reveal it. I've seen better weeks. You there, Scoop?
Yeah. All right. We're back. Cool.
We're back.
And I've got Brent on as well with me. How are you going?
I'm good, Scoop, mate. I'm well. Look, not terrible this week. I think just going to finish up maybe just under the 1,200 mark, which is good. But yeah, happy with. I think might sort of hold me with where I am in the rankings. But yeah, some bigger scores floating around the place. But I'm well, mate. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going pretty well, thanks. I've got I think I just ticked over 1,200, so not fantastic, but pretty decent this week. Yeah, just some interesting footy to finish off the week.
Definitely interesting footy, that's for sure, Brent. What did you? Are we going to go into exactly what you scored, Brent, and then maybe get on to Scoop once he gets back in?
Yeah, sounds good. Can do. I think I finished on, at this point, 1173, so wasn't too bad. Had the hammer, went Drinky as captain, which, you know, I thought they looked really good early, but they didn't end up executing throughout the end of that game. Drinky had that one disallowed early, which stung a bit, but still had a couple try assists in there. I thought they just, I don't know, weren't executing. But yeah, my main one was probably hammer. The rest weren't too bad. Don't have Turbo, don't have Hines. Didn't have Joey Manu. So there was some solid ones in there, but they didn't probably hurt too much. But yeah, brought in SJ and Wade Egan this week, which is a little bit against the grain a little bit, Egan. And I mean, SJ's in a bit of form. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with those. So yeah, can't complain. And I was sort of going about that 6K mark coming into the round. And yeah, I think 1173 might keep me thereabouts for lockout tomorrow, hopefully. Maybe not too much of a drop.
Fingers crossed. Scoop, how'd you go?
He's analysing.
Yeah, I think he's still dealing with it. Look, I got 916, which is I've seen better. I've seen better scores, that's for sure. I also had hammer and a Drinky captain, which wasn't weird that we're 200 points difference. But we get through and we persevere. Scoop, are you with us again? I think he's just a little delayed.
I think I'm back. How are we going?
We're good. Can you hear us?
All right. Cool. Yeah, I've got you now. All right. Yeah, I ticked over 1,200. Just before, just onto all the trades we've got for the next round, eh? Or
I'm not catching heaps of that, Charity. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it's breaking up as well.
Yeah.
Look, what we might do is go over to what the casualty ward is looking like. I know that's what Scoop loves to jump into and have a look at some of the injuries and the main concerns. I know for you and me, Brent, we're going to be a bit concerned about Hammer. Did we get any confirmation on how long Hammer's out for, or if it's just a slight strain and he'll hopefully be back next week?
No, I think the last I heard, and this was, I don't even know what the source was, Moz, was 3 to 4 weeks with that hamstring. So could be a half decent one, I guess, if he's looking at 3 or 4 weeks out and then sort of leading into that origin period nearly, I guess, well, we're around 5, 6. So yeah, might be tricky. He's worth a bit of coin as well. But yeah, no confirmation 100%, I don't think. But the last I heard was 3 to 4 weeks hamstring.
Definitely. Scoop, you with us again, or are you still floating around?
I think he's
just trying a few things, see if I can get it a bit more stable.
A little bit back.
Oh, that was a little better.
Yeah. Yeah. I might be, I'm not Sure, see how.
Well, I think looking at some of the other injuries as well, Jaden Campbell left the field early in this last game that we just witnessed, which was an insane game. So we'll see how long that one takes. That's going to be an interesting one if anyone did hold or bring him in. Zach Hosking with a shoulder injury. Mate, that guy can't catch a break. Poor guy. Did you have him?
I didn't. I sort of didn't get on him at that start of the year when you had to either go or not. And he got named on the bench, so I sort of stayed off him and hadn't started with him. So I've managed to avoid, but it's probably ended up a bit of a debacle for poor owners of him. You got him or? No.
Luckily, I avoided that. There's some decent cash gen there, so you might be able to sell, hopefully, for a little bit of a profit. Jazz Tavanga is another one that had an injury. He's looking like a couple of weeks off the sideline. Lockie Croker, the HIA. I think with that one, though, it might bring into play someone like a Jordan Chan Kumtung, sorry. Will bring him into the play potentially. If he can crush it, he might be able to jag that bench spot over a Lawton, which will be interesting to see. Totola was in a moon boot. So anyone who's still holding on to him, that's a big one. You don't have him or didn't have him any time throughout the season, did you, Brent?
I didn't. I don't generally get too high on Totola. I know a few people do, and there was a reason to start the year, but managed to avoid as well, thankfully, based on this week as well.
Yep. Poor Ty Munro.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, you hate to see it. What are some of the other ones coming out? Cam Murray failed the HIA. Hammer missing 4 to 6 weeks. Burbo suffering the hamstring as well. That'll bring to an end his cash gen, or at least his relevancy coming into this season.
Anything happened to Maddo? I'm just having a look at the scores, and he scored quite low, uncharacteristically. I didn't catch if anything happened in that home, but.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't catch anything. I was hosting a trivia night during my beloved Eels game, and was hoping to miss the slaughtering that was going to happen, but we ended up coming up with a win, which was great. A few other injuries throughout the season. We won't go through all of them, but some very, very interesting ones. Was there any more that you wanted to mention that you remember seeing?
No, not really. I think there was just a couple of the head knocks, which is obviously causing havoc this year, especially with that, if they're cat ones and that 10-day turnaround or whatever it is. But I think you covered the gist of them, the important ones, the relevant ones this week.
Yeah, other than, let's say, for example, a Kalen Ponga hip pointer, but as we see, all you need is an injection and you can become a top-tier captain choice, which is crazy. So
it was amazing. It was not looking good at half-time, wasn't it? No, he barely was on the field at the end of that first half, and then he looked ginger early in that second half, but obviously took effect. And he played
Exactly. Well, let's get stuck into the games, all right? Start with the Kalen Ponga Cup. Newcastle Knights versus the Sydney Roosters. Who were some of the players that stood out for you this game?
Yeah, well, I'm a Newey fan, so I watched this one pretty closely. Good contest. There was plenty of it happens every game and every week pretty consistently in terms of poor refereeing, so I don't generally harp too much on it. But there was some pretty solid performances from a few players there. 4 tons coming out of that game. One for Adam Elliott for the Knights. Obviously scored a try and was doing plenty in the middle, but big Toops turned back the clock with a 130, and Joey Manu obviously was unbelievable. He I think set the new record for meters gained in a game, 370 meters by 1 meter over Guffo, wasn't it?
370 versus 369.
He was awesome. I didn't touch him because I had my set of wings pretty set. Knew he'd be playing fullback this week and knew that would look pretty good, but just made a decision to go away from him, and he stung quite a bit. He looked really, really good, didn't he? And Terrell May was another standout. I know Victor Radley cracked the ton, but Terrell May, what a young prop.
Incredible to think that he's scoring an 86 coming off the bench. Another forward that's been impressive for a lot of super coaches is Kai Pearce-Paul. I'm just upset I didn't jump on him sooner. Like, this is crazy, the scores we're getting out of him playing the 80 and just being insanely dominant. Do you have Kai Pearce Ball, Brent?
I did. I jumped on him, so I missed his first cash rise because I was a bit, newy fan. I knew Lucas was there. I was a bit uncertain around his security, but then, paying pretty close attention to what was going on, I saw Lucas dropped out of favour. Wasn't even in the 17, one of those round 3 or whatever it was where they, first got that team, and so I jumped on him after his first rise, which might have been round 4 or something, and he's been awesome. Yeah. Had his best game on the weekend for sure. And I think he'll only keep getting better and better as he develops combos with guys and gets a bit more comfortable out there. But he's a handful, and he's got that big rangy back rower build like that Sean Lane sort of. But he looks like a handful.
I think once he gets and works up that combination with Ponga, having him sweeping out the back and able to get that offload, we're going to see someone scoring insane Supercoach scores. So if you got on him early, congratulations. If you got on him like us the next round, it's not the worst. He only lost, I think, a 40K or 50K that he rose, so it's not too bad.
Definitely.
The other one, yeah, exactly. The other one I wanted to touch on was Angus Crichton. I was contemplating on bringing him in for Satili Tupanua, and I thought, I'll just give it one more week. That one hurts.
Obviously, I think he's initially finished over 90, but I think he had some attacking stats taken off him, so he's finished up on 79 at this point in time, but. Yeah, it was the Angus of old, wasn't it? He was one of the elite back rowers probably 4 or 5 years ago when he was coming through at South and made that initial switch over to the Chooks. And again, another bloke that's turned back the clock. I think the issue with it is I didn't want to touch any of those Chooks back rowers just because of that back row roulette they got going on there. There's still Toops is still floating around. Satili's still floating around in there. You got Wong, who's probably looks like falling a little bit out of favour now. Nat Butcher's there, but it looks like that's going to be his edge now. I guess the only other concern I sort of had with him as well was because he is potentially going to Union, nothing signed or official yet. Yeah. You just never know what's going to happen with these guys. So, I mean, he looks awesome. He's one of the best players on the field for them on Friday night or on Thursday night rather with Joey and Daniel Tupou. He was awesome. So, yeah, I think he'll be pretty popular this week as well because he's still pretty cheap. And that back row position is just a little bit awkward at this point in time. So you're trying to find a bit of that value. And those guys that are performing, I think he's probably going to be on the radar for a few next week.
Yeah, definitely. And
you keen to jump on him next week?
I'm contemplating it, but I've just got too many fires to put out. I barely scraped together a 17 to play this week. So
yeah, that's right. Makes it hard.
As you can tell by playing Satili and Salmon, which playing Salmon didn't actually work out too bad for me. But
it's not what you want to be doing.
Exactly.
I think the only thing I'll shout out as well is Greg Marzu returned in that one charity. So he was actually playing out on the right, which he generally doesn't play. He's usually on that left side where Tuala was, and I guess they had a pretty good combo that first few weeks, so he's decided to keep him there. It will be interesting to see what Adam O'Brien does with him, whether he keeps him out on the right or chucks him back out on left, which I think he should do because he's just so devastating off that preferred side of Ponga, but we'll see what happens. But that could be a bit of a watch in terms of, he's put that 40 now, he's probably going to drop a bit of coin and it could be a big, massive scope if he moves back onto that left side.
100%. And good shout out there. I was going to say, were there any players that disappointed us other than like a Satili Tupanua? Marju was one of those that I did want to bring up. And also, we've come to expect a little bit more out of someone like a Dane Gagai, and he actually looked dangerous throughout the game, but only ended up on a 42. So kind of wanting more out of Dane Gagai if you did own him. He's not very highly owned, but is a bit of a pod player that constantly seems to knock out 70s. So very strange to see him at around a 40. So anyone else not impressed you this week?
Not really. I think in that game it was all pretty fair enough. No one else really that was sort of in that upper echelon that didn't perform or anything like that, I don't think.
No, that's fair. Well, let's move on to the next game. The Storm and the Doggies. I genuinely enjoyed this game. I thought this was really, really entertaining and was really hoping the Dogs would win this one, actually. Showed a lot of grit, showed a lot of heart. What stood out for you for this game and how did you enjoy it?
Mate, I couldn't agree more. I thought the Dogs were so cool getting done in this one. They deserved to win this game. But Melbourne just have done it again, just like they did against the Wilds couple of weeks ago or whatever it was. But yeah, how's that left edge of the Dogs starting to look? Really kicks. Matty Burton. Jerry looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
Obviously, Addo Carr bagged the Hattie against his old club. Big
Yeah, he did all right.
162.
He did all right. Yeah. Okay.
But that left edge, if they're singing like that and they're humming like that, they're going to be a handful for a lot of sides. I guess the interesting thing, obviously, with Critter playing one, I didn't think he was amazing back there, to be honest. I must admit, I've been one of the people that have sort of said, yeah, it'd be good to see him get a crack.
They started with Tracy, I think, at one.
I did notice that. I did know so Critter was named at one, and then I did actually notice watching the game that Tracy was chiming in where the fullback would be. So I was wondering if there was a bit of a switch sort of happening, maybe in attack. Tracy would chime into fullback and defence. I didn't actually track it that well, but I did actually observe what you mentioned just then. Actually.
Yeah, no, it was very odd because I kept on noticing that every now and again it was Tracy back there defending, and every now and again it was Crichton. And I may have just switched on at different points, but yeah.
No, you're right. I did notice that as well. I thought Jerry looked amazing though, so it'll be interesting. I think.
Incredible.
What do you do with Critter? I don't think he's a fullback, unfortunately, and even Tracy would probably be better shout as they did, and Tuff's obviously going to be due back soon. So, yeah, the pace of Jerry for a guy that's had that much time off as well, he looked real good. But, yeah, the Storm, just do it again. Cam Munster with that little connection with Sean Bloor at the end there for a little match winner. They've done it again.
Incredible. Yeah, look, I think a lot of people were talking about the back rower for the Storm. But they must have got their wires mixed up and gone for the wrong back row at the Storm, it seems. What an output by Bloor. We saw in his first game for the Storm, pretty much in just base, got something like a 60. And we see him get a try. And I think there was a line break in there as well, scoring, 87? Yeah, 87. 87. So incredible effort by him. Are you considering bringing someone like a Bloor in, or are you still too unsure about the Storm back rows?
Yeah, no, I think I liked Lisi last week. I didn't get on him, so I missed that big double 110 plus or whatever it was that he pumped out, which stung a bit, and was really strongly considering him this week. So I'm sort of vindicated with the 42. I still like Katoa a bit better. I don't know if Bloor's going to lock down 80. Did he play 80 in that one? I don't actually recall if he played the 80. Not that that's the be-all and end-all, but with Katoa, he's going to get the 80, and obviously depending on who they play and what the game plan is will depend on which side they might favour in attack. So you're probably going to get these weeks where Katoa will be the favoured side with Jerome and that right side, and then other weeks where they come down the Munster Bloor side. So I don't know. It's a bit more of an outlay to go Katoa, but I don't mind Bloor for the price. But I probably haven't really looked at him, to be honest, because I think Katoa's obviously he's a bit demands a bit more than that. But I mean, it's not a bad shout. Are you considering him?
Yeah, considering my friend started with Bloor because they forgot to check team lists on the first week and had to trade out a few players week one to play catch up. And then all of a sudden I was like, just hold Bloor just in case he gets a shot. Next minute, it turns out to be a masterstroke for her. So
absolutely.
Great work. Other than that, I think it was great to see Curran just constantly. He saved my front row forwards because I had Max King. I couldn't play Max King and Tyrrell May, so I had to move Curran up. So great to see him scoring well. Salmon as well was great for my team. I know a lot of people have been sort of off Salmon, but he's been scoring above what his break even is, constantly making a little bit of cash, but this 50 will help him shoot back up there, which is great. Scoopy, you back?
I think so. It doesn't seem to be cutting out anymore, but we'll see how we go.
That's good.
Wonderful. How have I done? Have I done well in your absence?
Yeah, I could hear everything. It just wouldn't work for the video for it. It would cut in and out with the video, but the audio was perfect. I don't know what was going on. Anyway,
so tell me, Scoop, who disappointed you in the Storm Bulldogs game?
Well, you already talked about him a little bit, but yeah, I did bring in Elliot Katoa, and yeah, I am a little bit worried that with that full Storm spine, with how dangerous Bloor is looking, that they might go to that side a bit more than they would have otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, Harry Grant was one of the ones that let me down. So I just cut out a little bit again. Harry Grant for me was one of the ones that let me down a little bit. Stephen Crichton, we obviously want to see more out of, but I think he'll warm up into that role. Does anyone still own Drew Hutchinson? No.
I considered it at one point, but thankfully I never did it.
Yeah, I steered away from that. He's made a little bit of cash for people, which is good. Connor Tracy, for someone who was playing at fullback for parts of that game with a 29, that was a little bit disappointing as well. But other than that, pretty decent game, particularly with the higher end scorers for us Supercoach wise. But there are a few high-owned players that were a little bit further down on that. So probably not the greatest game for super coaches unless you somehow managed to captain Adokar. I assume that was none of us here. It was pretty sure no one at all. So luckily we avoided that mess. Anyone else you wanted to mention in this game, or should we move on to the next one?
No, happy to move on.
Beautiful. So we had the Friday night game, the Battle of Brisbane, I believe they refer to it as, the Broncos versus the Dolphins. This is a not very low, but like a low-scoring Supercoach game, but a very, very exciting game to watch. Really high. I thought it was really high-level contest. It's just there were just too many injuries that hit the Dolphins. If Hammer's in that team, it makes for a very, very interesting contest throughout that game. I know the Broncos had a couple of injuries as well, but yeah, crazy. Who impressed you this game, Brent?
Yeah, you're right. I think Hammer coming out of that one pretty early was a bit of a downer because he can change the game on a dime as well. And I think he injured himself trying to chase down Coates on that dead ball as well. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, it was sort of pretty tight, I think, going into halftime. Was it tight at halftime? And then Brisbane put a few quick ones on them after halftime, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I can remember correctly. But yeah, look, it was I have Reece Walsh in a couple of drafts and always enjoy watching him. Obviously, his first game back, his execution was a bit poor, but I think he looked really dangerous. There'll be a lot of people. I think that fullback spot's so hard now, because there is generally like half a dozen really decent options that can strike and go 100 plus quite easily. Reece is a bit of a risk there, I think, but I like how dangerous he looks. He's not far off, but it's really hard to say. Would you go Reece Walsh over a Ponga, Turbo, Teddy, Drinky that generally have that higher floor? But yeah, he's a big watch. He'll obviously drop a bit of money as well. And coming into Origin, you're probably not going to touch him. And but yeah, he's someone I'm sort of looking at. He didn't actually perform that well, but that was the sort of something that stood out to me from a Supercoach perspective.
Yeah, scored like a 38 or something with a try and converting, which was very interesting. I would have thought that he would have scored a lot higher than that, seeing his game, which is crazy to see. Scoop, do you want to have another try? Any players that impressed you for this game?
Yeah, I think Willison is going to have to earn himself a bench spot with that performance. It was really, really strong effort by him. A couple tries helped as well. But yeah, big, strong player, got through some good minutes as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to have to eat some very big humble pie here. I spoke about it all preseason, saying avoid Bostock at all turns. Hasn't got the base. He has defensive lapses. He's going to get dropped round 3. You're going to be stuck with this player on your bench. He's not even bottom dollar cheapie. Avoid him at all costs. And now I'm contemplating, is he someone that I get into my team now? I can't do it out of pride, but he was performing so bad this game, and then all of a sudden gets a line break and a try and finishes the game on a 53. It's ridiculous. Stocks are up. It frustrates me so much, but look, hats off to him. He's performed really, really well. And if anyone did start with him, has kept him, and has played him, you've been rewarded for your loyalty. Brent, do you have the stock?
I missed him. I was a bit unsure. I think he started just over 300k start the season. I think I had questions about what his base would be like the same, but he's an out-and-out winger, isn't he? He's just a try-scoring winger. Obviously, that combo with Hammer out on the left is quite good at times. So yeah, it burns my piss to see Bostock doing well as well. And I can't get him in at 500k, and I'm sure there's going to be games where he scores 2 or 3 multiple times throughout this year. But I'm with you. I think I've missed that boat now, but credit to anyone that started with him.
Yeah. Made a lot of mistakes this year already. Made some good calls early, but the wheels are starting to fall off the wagon for me.
Feels like we've played bloody 20 rounds already for some. So these injuries and
we've made enough trades for 20 rounds, that's for sure. Who impressed me actually, not so much super coach wise, he's still got a decent score, but Ewan Aiken played out of his mind. It was ridiculous to see how well he's playing for someone who's almost like just a backup player. Played really well, fell into that slot incredibly well. So yeah, really, really impressed by what I've seen from him. There were a few players that didn't impress me though. I can't be too harsh on him, but Arthur's, there's weeks where he scores really, really well and I don't play him. And then there's weeks where I play him and he doesn't score very well. Knocking out a 22, I need to see more than 26. I need to see more from him, a little bit more involvement, like he's had in previous games. Anyone else not impressed you guys this week?
Quick question: did you start with Arthur's?
Yeah.
So you went Arthur's over a Bostock?
Yeah, I went Arthur's over Bostock, which started out looking pretty good. But yeah, no.
That's all right. He fumbled that one early, just quickly. He dropped that one over the line, which hurt because, you get off with a good start. Probably still scores 50 if he gets that one. But, yeah, that stings a bit. It's just that thing with those wingers, with those guys that you're taking a punt on, especially if they're around like 400 or 500k. If you know you need them to score a try too, you're always running the gauntlet a bit, right? But when they get it right, they can score really well. But, yeah, that is a little bit rough just quickly.
100%. I think as well, someone that would have let a couple of people down, luckily not me, but Josh Kerr, knocking out, what is it, a 19? You really wanted to see more out of him if you'd brought him in. He had a couple of good price rises, a couple of good try-scoring games, but just without the try, he's not scoring what you need to. He didn't play that many minutes, though, this game, did he?
No, I don't know what happened there because they also had, obviously, Fledgel was out. Did he get injured? Did he get ruled out, I think, early?
He had it.
Was it HRA
I think
or something?
as soon as he came on the field, he had a bandage around his head. I think I remember that. They taped him up pretty much as soon as he walked on because I think he got a cut straight away. But that wasn't. I didn't feel like that was too late. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how his minutes are affected, if he's going to pick up more minutes, if this is just sort of like a one-off game. Anyone else to mention from this game?
Probably just the one that I've been looking at, which you might not excite people, but he's been really solid. I've played Supercoach for a number of years now, and it used to be a very much meat and potatoes forwards where you stacked your back row with 6 of them. Days of Sean Fensom, Anthony LaFranchi, Hindmarsh, guys like that. This guy somewhat reminds me of that, but he's just an absolute base beast. Gets through his work, and that's Paddy Carrigan. He's about 700k now, so you could argue maybe not necessarily missed the boat. He started only about 10k less to start the year, but he's pretty much pumping out 60 plus in base most weeks for this season so far. His ceiling might not be there, which can probably put people off. I know these days you've probably got to get that high ceiling back rower that can sort of cross for a pie or two, like Ola and Katoa, guys like that. People look at even Hopgood, but he's got me looking at him. It's also tricky. Obviously, we come to buys and Origin, and he'll be well and truly into that. But Paddy Carrigan good for last month.
Yeah, he's looking really good. I versed someone who captained him. I think it was last week, which was a very bold play. Luckily, I had the drink water captain for last week, which was great, but didn't work out this week. But anyway, yeah, look, Carrigan, he's moving into realms of, your Isaiah Yo's of just constantly knocking out 60s, 70s, which is great to see. We'll move on to the next game, which was, was this game of the round, would you say? This was the Sea-Eagles Warriors?
And there was some really weird games of you this week. But yeah, this one was up there as well. I did catch this one. The finish to this game was just wild. It was just a tale of two halves, really. It was all Manly in that first half, and then the Wild's really big second half. But yeah, interesting. You don't see a draw too often either, do you, Charity?
No, it's crazy. It's good to see. I love it. Both teams deserved to go away with points for that. They both put in really hard effort. Daly Cherry Evans is just aging like a fine wine. He is just constantly putting on good performances. It's crazy to see. He's incredible. What's been great to see as well is just these two older halfbacks going at each other. And it was a battle of this kicking game, just seeing who could kick better, just guiding their team around the park. It's so good to see Johnson playing good footy. The halves were really, really good. Tamari Martin, again, another solid game. He comes into contention of, do you bring him into your team at 5'8"? I'm contemplating moving Strange back down to CTW and bringing Tamari Martin in for that cash rise, but also just for a point scorer. He's just been an absolute beast. Anyone else stand out for you this game?
It's interesting. I actually hadn't had too much of a look at Tamari Martin, but given how he started with that 98 last week and then this 70 this week, he's probably in for some big money. So you know about shout, and obviously Metcalf's going to be gone for a while. So yeah, it's an interesting shout. I don't mind it.
I also think as well, Chanel Harris-Tavita had a bit of a shocking game when he came on, dropped a couple of balls, made a couple of discipline errors. So, it's almost playing himself out of that position. I think it's good to have him still on the bench, but could just mean even more minutes for Tamari Martin without having to worry about Chanel Harris-Tavita coming on and maybe taking that role. I know he's been filling into the number 9 slot, but with the potential risk of that affecting Tamari Martin. But it's good to see that it's not. Good to see Tamari Martin scoring well.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that's like a really why I stayed with Metcalf in more so draft and stuff, was because there was always those. Tamari Martin's a quality player, and then obviously CHT was back. So, yeah, like you said, if you get that certainty that he's got the position, I think he's a good shout, and they've got a really good run. Is it? I think St. George this week, and then Titans the week, or St. George next week, and then followed by the Titans or vice versa, which is why I jumped on SJ and Egan this week. But the other guy I think looks really good since he's come back is CNK. Nickel Clockstad's just so busy. Obviously, a lot of conjecture around outside of probably the Warriors camp, whether he'd get that fullback spot back with Sheck. Looking so good there that week before he was due back, but you couldn't move him. He's been super solid. I probably couldn't touch him in Classic or anything like that. Unfortunately, he just doesn't appeal to me enough. But he'll do a job, and he scored pretty heavy the first 2 weeks back, an 88 and then a 96 this week. The Warriors are going to put some points on some sides, and he's probably going to be involved in a bit of it. So, he's an interesting one. I think more so probably people that have him in draft and stuff. I don't know if you could pick him again ahead of some of those other top fullbacks like Ponga and stuff like that. But he's a bit of a pod play.
Yeah, imagine if he was still available at CTW like he was last year.
Man, that'd be so good. Be straight in.
So good. Another one that really impressed me was Paseka. Paseka's just going to a new level each game, it feels. Just running hard, barnstorming runs, and just scoring really, really well. Been really, really impressed with what I've seen from Paseka. Any other players that impressed you? I know there's a couple that we can go through in this because there were some fairly high-scoring ones, but anyone in particular you want to shout out?
No, not really. It's just amazing to me how Tohu keeps just producing. I know that try assist for Jazz that bumped his score up a little bit, but just the ultimate Mr. Consistent when he's not injured. But yeah, just looking at that list, I mean, even Ola was pretty quiet, and he still managed to pump out 66. So that's quite funny.
Crazy.
Yeah, he didn't do too much, but yeah, probably not really. I think Sheck was couple uncharacteristic errors, but Ford also probably a couple uncharacteristic errors. But yeah, probably that's about it for me.
Yeah, I think Ford was a bit of a letdown for those who brought him in after his 100-point score games. As I mentioned, Chanel Harris-Tavita was one of those ones that sort of let me down a little bit. I don't have him, but obviously you're wanting to expect more out of a really good young player. And then I was very frustrated with RTS this week. We've seen how good he can be. Granted, he wasn't getting enough quality ball, which isn't always his fault, but he can still go looking for the ball. That try at the end really saved him and saved my score, that's for sure. Because otherwise I was staring down the barrel of a RTS, I think it was 26, a Jesse Arthur's 22, and a Hammer 4, which would have really hurt my CTW. Thank God I had Schiller as my CTW 4, which we'll get to.
Yeah, no, that hurts. That hurts. That's stiff.
Anyone else sort of let you down, or you think would have let down owners?
Let me down, but an interesting one that I've got at the moment, who I didn't start with him and I brought him in because I thought he looked really good, and then now I'm on the fence with him. Now I've got him, and probably big decisions coming up in the next couple of weeks because of where he is. Is Luke Brooks. I still think he passes the eye test, and he's not far off a big score, but I don't know if it's just false hope, or he's just, I don't know. He looks like he's going to break through a lot of the times where he runs the ball. He's obviously maybe assisting the assister. I don't know. Obviously, he's not going to be a keeper in one of those halfback spots with Hines, Cleary, SJ. I'm more looking at him. Is he a possible second 5'8"? I don't know. Is he going to be the guy that I have to trade to go to Cleary when he's back?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just on the fence with him, but he still looks good. I'm waiting for him to explode, but he's frustrating, I think.
Listen, you're speaking to the number one advocate for Brooks here right now.
Okay.
Rugby League Realm and I have had a few back and forths about starting with Brooks at the start of the season. And I said, I'm starting with him. I'm running with him. And he was outscoring the other halfbacks. It was great to see. Then everyone jumped on him and ruined him for me. So thanks for that, Brent. I really appreciate it.
He looked awesome in Vegas. I thought, geez, I'm getting him straight in. He looked brilliant.
Exactly. So my plan was always he's in my halfback position right now until Cleary comes back, then move Cleary in, and he was going to move back down to 5'8". But with some of the good cheapy options that are coming into 5'8", that are only available, Jai Gray's another one that we're going to talk about soon. He's only available at 5'8". So,
Galvin,
if he comes in and starts crushing it, Strange, Galvin, Flanagan's been performing pretty well as well and going in. So
Tamari Martin now.
Tamari Martin. So there's a couple of really good options there now. It may be a point where we may have to sell Brooks. I don't want to, but yeah.
I mean, you think you could go Brooks to Tamari Martin and bank 200K? It's like, it's hard to ignore that because it's like Tamari Martin's putting up 80, 90 plus. And you want Brooks to do well, but sometimes you just got to swallow your pride and do the smart thing rather than what your heart's telling you. But yeah, it's going to be some, I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have to pull the trigger or keep him, and it will be probably defining.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the next game, and the game that I actually didn't get to watch because I was hosting a little trivia night with my friends. And I was glad that I was going to be missing this game because I thought this is going to be like a 40-0 scoreline. But good to see a little bit of backbone from the Parramatta Eels. I can see Scoop celebrating in the chat, which is great to see. Let's go Para. What did you think of this game, man?
Yeah, look, I was pretty keen to tune in this one with Drinky captain. I had Val, hoping they'd put on a cricket score, and I just loathed in my super coach glory in that one. But and it looked good early with the Drinky setting up whoever it was felt on that edge early. But I don't know, it was weird. It was sort of just like as the game went on, the Cowboys got worse and the Eels just sort of hang in there and got a little bit better and then gained a bit of that momentum. And once they got a hold of the scoreboard, they never really let it go from there. They always sort of stayed in front and managed to hold it. Yeah, probably frustrating is probably the best word to describe it from a Supercoach perspective. Obviously, Dill Brown, he's updated a bit since I last saw this. He's gone up to 86, which is a massive result for anyone that held him. I know there was plenty of people tossing up holding, keeping him, and obviously, like we just talked about, that 5'8" position have a number of cheapies available there now, but he's responded well with an 86 there.
I know some people that traded him in this week, which is crazy.
I traded him out, so I put my hand up. I didn't like what I saw last week at 7. I'm a huge Dill Brown fan. I started the season with him. Best running 5'8" in the game, in my opinion, probably bar Munster when he wants to have a dip. I actually traded him out because I just didn't like what that 7 roll was doing to him. I still thought he was dangerous against Canberra. He sort of nearly broke through a few times, but just didn't. But I just was a bit off it. I'm probably going to regret it because I think Eels they don't play round, or they do play 13, and he obviously won't play in the Origin. But I just thought maybe I'm going to get away with this one and be able to bring him in later for a bit cheaper. That's probably going to backfire, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, well done to anyone that held him. Hopgood was good again. But yeah, the Cowboys probably just execution again, a little bit like Brisbane. I think the Dolphins game had a heap of errors. This one wasn't as bad, but I think just that execution at times was a bit off for the Cows, and Para just grinded it out for a win. It was a pretty entertaining game of footy in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and watch the full thing because I only caught bits of it popping in and out to check what the score was and what was happening when the score was going on. Good to see DJ Arnasi back in the team and knocks out a 70. Insane.
Yeah, it was good. He scored a try, a pretty important try for him from memory at one point there, and also iced the game with a field goal for him. But he looked really good. He stepped up, and they obviously need a halves partner for Dill Brown for the next couple of months. I think he's put his hand on that jersey now and said, that's mine. And it will be his now unless something else happens. So RIP Blaze Talagi for anyone that got on that train.
I hope he comes into centre for Morgan Harper. Those of you who are in the Discord will know my feelings about Morgan Harper in our side. He got a try, so good on him, Harper. But I can't see a world where we keep running with a Morgan Harper over someone like a young gun like Blaze Talangi. Hopefully Sivo comes back and Simonson goes back to centre and we can resolve that issue. But yeah, it's killing me as a fan. Anyone else?
I don't get it.
Anyone impress you? Actually, sorry, Lussick. I traded out Joey Lussick this week for Harry Grant, thinking Harry Grant would roll through a weakened Dogs pack, and this is almost going to be one of the worst trades I've done this season. I think really, really hurts. Do you have Lussick? Did you own Lussick before?
No, I traded out Joey Lussick and Dill Brown this week. So I went Lussick to Wade Egan and Dill Brown to SJ with Jules. So that's
not too bad though.
We can unite in. It stings with Joey Lussick because I think he had a 50-odd break even. I thought he's going to plot a 30-40 and start leaking. And then he's pumped out a 70 and actually had another try disallowed because he was standing in front of the 10-metre line off a dropout. And it was sort of a bit like Mitch Kenny in the grand final where the ball pops out the back and he just right place, right time. But he would have nearly turned up. He would have gone 90-odd had he got that try as well. So, yeah, he'll start regenerating some cash now, charity, which stings. You're never going to get him all right, but you just think, far out. Like, he was probably just going to get another 40-odd and start to leak. But, went to Egan. Hopefully he's got a bit more in him. But it was sort of hard with Lussick because it's like if you're going to hold him, you almost got to hold him to Origin, like get him through that first bye. I'm pretty sure Para play that first bye, don't they? They play 13. I think so. I think it was a dumb move trading out Brown at one point. I was like, what are you doing? But, yeah, it's sort of like if you got Joey Lussick now, I'd argue you've always just got to hold him through that first little bye period there because...
Especially now with this price rise coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to regenerate some cash. We'll probably get tricky now. He might get up to 500K or something and start to leak again in a couple of weeks just as we come into that crucial period. But, that's always the way with Supercoach. You only need to bag another pie or two and you can start that up again. But, yeah, I'm with you on that one, brother. That one burns as well a little bit.
Yeah. I had Chatty Townsend who let me down a little bit, 26. He's been scoring pretty well the past couple of weeks and I've been really happy with a 300K halfback that's been scoring me 60s pretty much most weeks, maybe the occasional 45, but it's been great. But to score a 26 hurts. I'd love to see him get a little bit more involved and take a little bit more control, particularly when the game isn't going too well. I think Bryce Cartwright as well, 26 on return, not what you want to see. He had a couple of errors, was making a couple of stupid decisions, unlike what we've come to know with Bryce Cartwright. So anyone else disappoint you for this game?
Not really. I just think on Chatty, I fucking hate Chad Townsend from just what he looks like on the field. It's I can't touch him. There's like I had to pick him up in a draft last week, and it absolutely just went against all moral compass I had. But I had to do it, and he actually did well because he has been looking pretty good, to be fair. But I fucking hate that guy. So yeah, I don't touch him in classic. But Bryce looked like the Cardi from the Titans, didn't he? Yeah, not really. I think it was just a funny game of footy. I think the Eels just sort of ground them down and they really tied guys like Robson down and Dearden a little bit as well. I know Dearden scored sort of half decent, but they just grounded them down and contained them. It was a gritty win for Para. It was a good win if you're a Para fan.
Yeah, and that's the kind of win that we want to see as fans.
Yeah.
I can't stand when we lose in like a crappy fashion. Like even if we win in a crappy fashion where we're not trying, we're not giving. I hate seeing that. The Panthers loss that the Eels had, that was a gritty loss. We tried hard, we got through it. The past couple of games I've seen really made me think Eels aren't going to make the 8. But this one,
that Tigers game was a bit of a stinker too. Like they just are terrible in that. Like granted, the Tigers played well, but I was like, what are they doing? They looked lost.
Terrible.
But big news of Lomax coming, boost them. Obviously not this year, but that'll be huge coup for them next year.
Yeah, I really hope that pays off for us. I think moving on to the next game. Look, I don't want to call anyone out here, but I just want to send out my condolences to the poor guy in our Supercoach hub who traded out Mulatalo on 110 for a hammer on 4. My condolences to you. I know you're not doing great. So if you need to talk, we're here for you, all right? We'll get you through it. Matalo, jagging 2 tries, 110. It just goes to show. Just Mulatalo he'll score a 9, he'll score 120. He'll score a 27, he'll score a 96. There's barely an in-between score that we see from Mulatalo. Have you got him? Did you jump on him? Did you sell him?
No, I think I don't even remember if I started with him, but I got him in and then traded him out at the buy. So I had him, and then I just thought it's too much money for him just to be sitting there, and I'm not even sure I want to keep him. I think there was someone got injured and I need some cash. So I think I went Ronnie and I was like, nah, I'm not getting him back in. And then he's the ultimate fuck you with this big 110. So it obviously doesn't hurt as much because I didn't trade him out this week. I traded him out a couple of weeks ago and I've moved on and probably converted from the cash a bit. But he was on song. He's very rocks and diamonds, isn't he? But everything he touched turned to gold on Saturday night. He couldn't do anything wrong. He scored a double, set a couple up as well, and just any contest or any bounce of the ball that he was involved in went his way. But yeah, he's a competitor. He competes for pretty much everything as well. So that's probably what you want. But it's going to be hard to ignore him with Hammer out as well. You can probably go straight to him. I don't know if that's the play, but it'd be probably pretty tempting to go Hammer straight to him personally.
I'm
not a close look.
I'm not touching Mulatalo.
You don't like
I don't want to be any. I don't want to be no. It's not about that. It's more just about the fact that I can't stomach figuring out when to play him and when to sit him on the bench because I don't know when he's going to score that 20 that he always seems to score.
It's like that. You just buy him, forget about it, and strap yourself in. It's like, he's a classic roller coaster player. Well, he's been pretty good this season, to be fair. But there'll be a 20 or 30. There's a 20 or 30 around the corner. But there was even question marks with obviously young Iro inside of him whether he'd still get the opportunities. But obviously it didn't matter too much on the weekend. That said, Souths were absolutely decimated. I think they ended up getting down to like a one-man bench pretty quickly. They lost Munro early, Totola as well, Cam Murray at half-time. To be fair, like you talk about, I don't really pay attention to too much sort of stuff in the media and how that sort of blends over into the game. But there was obviously a big headline around Demetrio here, and they had to perform for him. I thought they were pretty good considering the havoc that they copped in this one. They just stayed in the contest. The scoreline probably doesn't reflect the closeness of it at times. I don't think the Sharks are probably too worried, but yeah, it was just South never really looked like winning, but they just tried to hang in there and they did pretty well considering. But they're always pushing shit uphill, to be fair.
Well, I think what we wanted to see out of the Rabbitohs was more effort, more like actually trying and wanting to play for the coach. If they came out there and knocked out another performance like they did against the Roosters, or who did they play last week?
The Rabbits.
Yeah, but like we saw not as great a performance.
The Warriors, they got towed up.
Yeah, the Warriors, that was a training run practically. So great to see. And what was great to see about this one, especially when you look at the leaderboard for the South scorers, Dean Hawkins on 87 points, Marmazelis on 73, and you scroll down a little bit further and you get to see Jai Gray on 45, which I'm pretty sure Jai Gray went off the field.
He did.
Yeah. So, like, these new young players have come in, they've been given an opportunity, and they've actually stood up, performed super well. I think there's some really promising signs now moving forward. It's just about how they deal with things moving forward through this bye, through all of the coaching dramas, with some of the other players coming back as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going a bit off the radar with Supercoach here, but you start to wonder with Latrell. He's obviously an amazing talent. You can't question that. But is he actually the best for this team? That Gray was unreal. He passed the eye test massively for a little fella at fullback on debut. He was awesome. And even you'd have to question Demetrio dropping Cookie. Like, there was some real questionable shit. But yeah, they were a big effort. You lose your captain, Cam Murray, you lose your fullback for a bit, Munro on the wing. Like, they were in all sorts. So I honestly thought the Sharks should have put 40 plus on them with ease once they had those injuries. So even expected guys like Hines and that to absolutely tear them apart, which they didn't really, to be fair. Hines, he's not looking like a shadow of his old self. He got a bit of junk at the end off a kick, that try to Brayley, and he also kicked, I think, 5 from 6. So you take away that assist and 20 points worth of goals, and he's not. I mean, he's a busy half. He makes plenty of runs and tackles, but he doesn't look like a shadow of that Dally M player from a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, and this is the next point I wanted to bring up, is how much do we think Trindle is affecting Hines' ability to score well in Supercoach, and how much do you or how much do you think it's just benefiting the team and Hines just isn't getting the ball enough because it's what's best and right for the team?
I almost think Trindle's more of a 7 than Hines is. Like, I'd probably prefer Hines be that runner of the ball, that run first, Trindle 7 rather. I mean, it probably doesn't matter too much. Generally play each side of the field, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. He's a little bit stifled, whether it's a confidence thing. He had all that drama with his mum as well. You just never know what's going on off field with guys and the head noise and all that sort of stuff. I also think maybe, like, I'm a big Will Kennedy fan just from, like, watching a footy perspective. He hasn't really done anything for probably a season or two now, to be fair. Like, you got to give him something out the back. That fullback position's so important. If there's no threat out the back, all eyes are going to be on Hines like 90% of the time. So, you know, whether that Dykes should get a crack or even Nico goes to fullback, I don't know. But, I mean, he scored an 82. It's not bad, but I traded him out a couple of weeks ago and I didn't mind it. But you cringed at this one because you knew how weak Souths were going to be, but didn't really stand up. But maybe he doesn't need to. Maybe he can just take a back seat. They've got plenty of good players in that team. Yeah,
William Kennedy's an interesting one. I haven't seen enough out of him this year so far to make me really go, he's definitely safe. He's what he was before. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes throughout the rest of this season. There weren't too many that I was disappointed with. I think as an owner, you might be disappointed if you still have Talakai. He's unfortunate what's happening with him and his role, but What it does bring into contention is Kale Iro. Are you looking at bringing him in?
I think you have to, don't you? I think my MPRs in the centre wing at the moment are Gagai, Talangi, and it will be Schiller. That's my not my MPRs, but my bench spots. So I'm going to have to go Gagai or probably Talangi to him, unless I go Hammer. But it just means that you got to play Iro and Schiller potentially will get dropped next week. Apparently, is the male, but he looks good. He's an out centre. It's just I was sort of like, is his job secure now? Is the only question. I think Talakai's on real left centre. I'd almost like put Iro and Talakai in the centres before Ramian, but I mean Ramian's been probably fair enough. But it's just a security. But I probably Iro to Gagai to Iro at least fixes a problem. With that dead cash on the bank, same with Talangi, I guess. But yeah, I think you have to, don't you, Charity?
Yeah, I'm most likely actually going to do Talangi to him. I don't have another NPR, so we'll see. We'll see how we go.
He looks good, but like he passes the eye test.
Yeah.
He's busy. He runs hard. Like he reminds me of little Val Holmes.
He definitely passes the eye test, that's for sure. I can't stop looking. No, he's a looker. Yeah, he's a bit of a looker. But no, great to see.
Great footy name too. I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. You love to see it. Anyone else you want to mention from this game?
Nah, not really. I just think like of all the shit that's been happening at South, Cody Walker should be the one that's been called out, and he still hasn't. I don't think he really stepped up in this one, but they fucking already pulled the whole team apart. I just thought he was probably one of the more underperforming ones, but I think the South's got a big hole to dig themselves out of.
I think the reason they didn't drop him is because they're very, very short on stocks in the halves now.
Well, I think when Ilias got dropped, I think he was a scapegoat, but you probably couldn't drop Ilias. I couldn't drop Walker and bring in Hawkins and have Ilias and Hawkins. So probably fair enough, but just my observation anyway. We're probably dragging out. We'll keep moving.
Yeah. Let's go on to the Dragons and Tigers. This is an interesting game. You weren't a big fan of this game, were you? You were sort of looking at this as a bit of a poo slinger.
I didn't make sure I was sitting down to watch the start of this one. It was sort of in the background once I got home to Savo, so I didn't really follow it closely. I was obviously checking the live updates at times, but I didn't really watch much of it, to be honest. Got the back end more than anything.
This game was a very, very hard watch. I was sitting down watching it with my friend who I'm versing this week in Supercoach, and she owns Lomax, who scored the first try, Stefano, who scored the second try, and Flanagan, who scored the third try. It was a tough watch for me sitting there.
Put that in a multi.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just her smiling in the corner. It hurt. It hurt. But great performances from, I'm going to say those three players, actually. Pretty impressive. I know Flanagan didn't score too high, but he's still just knocking out what he needs to sort of stay in your team if you did start with him and weren't looking to flick to someone else. There are just too many good options there at 5'8". But Lomax, for a guy that doesn't want to play wing and doesn't want to be at the club, he's playing career best footy. It's ridiculous.
He looks awesome. I traded him in draft a couple of weeks ago because of all this shit that was going on, and I was sort of like, oh, maybe he'll get dropped. And he's been killing it. Like, I was like, oh, I can't. I just don't want that risk. He's burning me. And then in Classic, he's killing it. He's awesome. Obviously, goal kicking as well. But some of the things he did against Newcastle the week before in the rain as well.
That flick pass, my lord.
I think I did see at one point that catch where, this new disruptor bullshit that they've all of a sudden, the disruptor, like if you contest the ball in the air.
Oh, yeah.
But you're not actually going for the ball. You're just trying to put off the fullback. Zach Lomax in one today has his hands like meters behind his back, manages to catch the ball somehow, throws it behind him. Like, if he misses that ball, they have to call that a disruptor. But he's just such a threat in the air. He's busy with his base. Obviously, goal kicks. Benny Hunt likes to find him a bit as well in the air. So, I think he ticks a lot of boxes. I was a bit off him because of this stuff with Para and would he crack the shits? Would he get benched, thrown in New South Wales Cup or whatever? But anyone that jumped on, well done. He had a pretty low break even. He's going to be probably upwards of 750K next week. Maybe he's an option to look at from the hammer as well. To be fair, he's killing it.
That's probably what I'm going to look to do, to be honest. So we'll see how we go. But I'm a bit worried about jumping on and it just crashing like it does most seasons when you see someone scoring well and then you jump on them. All of a sudden they start scoring 20. So we'll see how we go. Api Coruscant scoring a 59. If you're an owner of Api Coruscant, are you happy with that first round that he played? So round 2, great score, and everyone wanted to jump on him. He scored, I think, a 45 one week. I think he scored a 70 another week. This one now, a 59. Are you happy with what he's scoring, Brent, if you own him?
Is he still? I can't recall because Caesar's a noted kicker. Is Appy still goal kicking?
As far as I'm aware, I know he didn't kick last week when he had the hammy issue.
Okay.
But yeah, we can see. I think Scoop's saying that Coruscant 59 is slightly irritating. I think if you're a non-owner, you're happy. You're happier than if you are an owner. I think that's a great point. Quite interesting.
I think you look at when you pick up Appy at any point this season, you would have looked at this one and even possibly looked at him as a captaincy option potentially. You had that big ton earlier in the year, and he can go big, but it's tough if he's not goal kicking. I know a lot of people pile shit on the Tigers about, you got to score tries to kick goals. But if he's losing like 15 to 20 points worth of goal kicks, again, I can't recall today if he kicked, if Caesar did, or what's going on. But, I mean, if you can add 10 or 20 points with goal kicking, it's a very different conversation with Appy. If he's scoring 50 to 60 just in making 40 tackles and setting up the odd try. But that's even with the try and the line break assist, the try assist and line break assist, the big Steph as well. So, it's an interesting one. I looked at him a couple of weeks ago because he was priced pretty good, but he's now going to lose a bit of coin with that 59. He's probably going to be closer to 600K this week with probably a pretty decent, off the top of my head, pretty high-ish break even, maybe somewhere near that 80 to 100 region if I had to guess. But, I don't know. I think the thing with Appy now is if you don't own him, do you think he's going to hurt you that much?
No.
Do you think he can hurt you with these tons? And there are some hard games coming up now, and he generally shines in those harder games. But you look at this one today, and I just sort of think, I'm glad I missed that one, to be honest. Yeah,
exactly. I think another player that's pretty highly owned, when I say highly owned, it's 7.5%, but Tom Eisenhuth. He's just been knocking out big score after big score. He's looking the goods.
Yeah, when I first started playing, it was the Daily Telegraph version of this Supercoach when they had Fox Sports and all that. The strategy was you pick guys playing back row that you could pick at the centre wing, second row with that duality. You'd always pick them in the back row because they're always safe for a solid 50, 60. He's doing that. He's that guy at the moment. He's maybe not necessarily 50 to 60, but just safe. He's making a bit of coin as well. He's made about 100,000. He's a good buy. Anyone that started with him, he's getting some pretty solid minutes playing in the middle. Well done to anyone that started with him. I'm just one of those guys that bores me to watch, so I just didn't get on him. But he's doing a job. He's plodding away. He's making some coin, and he's being consistent. So he's looking all right.
Yeah, we've got a friend in our league who started with him. Her team name is Yay Team Go Ball. She doesn't watch the NRL. She's leading our league right now, undefeated in all of her head-to-head matchups. And that's one of the players that she has. And it's ridiculous. It's the tipping comp all over again. I don't know how it's happening. It's hurting.
Well, I started with Taylor May, for instance, at 450K. I probably would have been better off starting with Eisenhuth from round 1 and playing him. He was probably scored similarly 100K cheaper to start the year and made money. So, fair play to your lass. She's doing all right.
It's tough. Players who didn't really impress, Tyrell Sloan, it's sad to see because he did start off really, really well this season, but just not performing to where he needs to be. I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of weeks' time they do look to give Lomax that fullback spot, but with Lomax leaving, it might just do more damage long-term than you need to. So maybe you do just stick out with him. But, we just need to see more effort out of Sloan personally. And then another player that sort of I thought was a little bit of a letdown was Caesar. He scored 40 points, which is kind of like what he needs to for his break even. But just he had a couple of poor kick decisions towards the end of the game where they were still kind of in it. Couple of mistakes that I think he needs to clean up, or they might look at bringing in and just having like a like a Sullivan Galvin or a Fainu Galvin combination, because if Caesar keeps that up, that's what it's looking like it could be. Anyone disappoint you or anyone else you wanted to touch on before we move into the last game?
Not really. I think that what you mentioned about Sloan was interesting. He's a big confidence guy, and I reckon he's a bit rattled after last week getting pulled out of there for a bit. But Lomax looked good. I mean, I hear what you're saying about him leaving and it might rock the boat, but imagine if Lomax went to fullback. Everyone's bringing him in. That'd be huge. He'd probably average just fucking 60 in base. So, I don't know. It's interesting, but a lot of these guys probably not super relevant. Happy, Big Steph, to be honest, he's been unreal. Probably pretty low score with a try. Probably expected a bit more out of him, but I got him in a couple drafts and watching him, and he's just getting better and better every week. He's awesome, but probably can't touch him now in Classic. He's nearly 600. No, he's probably going to be closer to 600k after this week, and maybe not the place to be taking a punt on the front row at 600k at this point of the year. Even though I started with Joey Tapine and Ruben Cotter, but he's looking good, Big Stefano.
Looking good. All right, let's move on to the last game before we wrap up for today. What a game. Thought we were going to see our second draw for the week. Incredible watch. I was lucky. I caught half of the first half and then raced home so that I could watch the second half of this. And what a game. Really good effort. Great to see out of the Titans. Just a shame that it came a little bit too late and didn't clutch up at the end there. So what did you think of the game, Brent?
Another weird game of footy. I think Raiders dominated the first half, and then Jolliffe goes in real late, just before half time. And this sort of kills the momentum for the Raiders. And then the stats, I think if you have a look at the stats on paper, you'd think Raiders put 50 on them. They had some ungodly amount of tackles inside the Titans 20. It was like everything was against the Titans. They just hung in there, and then AKP scored 2 tries in the last 5 minutes. Brian Kelly's never had a shot at goal in his career. Misses the first one, and then fades one off the sideline. Fades. He doesn't hook it; it fades. It was a crazy kick to send it to Golden Point. And then it looked like it was going to be a draw until Strange made that break down the sideline. But there was some really good games of footy, weird games of footy, and this was probably a fitting way to finish the round, to be honest, mate. Weird game of footy.
You'll love to see it. I think one of the big shout-outs I want to have, I spoke about this in the Supercoach Hub. We have a Thursday night team review before the Thursday night game kicks off. People can just jump in, share their teams, get some sort of feedback and advice and a general consensus of what we want to do with different teams. And about 3 weeks ago, I think it was, when Tino went down with the injury, I was speaking about Jamin Jolliffe as a potential buy into your team, and geez, he's been performing well with the try now, knocking out, was it 95? Great to see. Good on the big fella. He puts in a lot of effort, plays with a lot of heart, so great to see. Jamal Fogarty kicking the team to death. It's great to see. And I think for me, I really wanted to call out Ethan Strange he's almost looking like a season keeper at CTW. Like, he's just playing so well. He's such a footballer, plays with so much grit, and gets the occasional 20, which is hard to cope with sometimes. But when he knocks out close to tons or 70 points or 60 points, it's great to have in your team.
Yeah, they got some good young players there, Canberra, just quickly. When you look at Strange, Schiller, Savage, that Stewart obviously debuted tonight. He was unreal. Like, I think he only made one probably error right near the back end of the game as well. But that Chevy Stewart, he's going to be elite. There's some good stuff happening at the Raiders all of a sudden. I think they'll tip for the spoon to start the year, but they're looking primed. Fogarty's getting better with age. Hudson Young's looking good. So they're doing a job. Joel burned my piss big time because there was probably 3 drafts I was in where it was real tight, and all 3 of them had Joel. And when he scored just before halftime, you got to be fucking kidding me, don't you? But yeah, he's looked really good. He looked really good in that one. And obviously the bonus with this one, I think a lot of people probably would have had obviously Schiller, Snitties, Strange. But it was nice seeing it go to Golden Point, get a few extra points from the Pigs, from the forwards. I got Big Joe Tapane as well. So that was good. But I'm surprised I was looking at that. Schiller finished on 65 with that double, but I suppose he's probably not doing too much else, is he? But yeah, no, I think there's some good things happening there. Fafita's probably going to be pretty cheap soon, but the question is do you want him? Didn't start. He started off the bench today. I think he was named to start in the back row on Teamless Tuesday, but shifted to the bench. 112 break even, pumps out of 55. So he's going to probably be, mid 700s with another pretty high break even, but they're not really using him, and he didn't look overly interested. So it's going to be hard because he's bound to score tries at some point and maybe gears up for Origin. I don't know, but yeah, he's going to be a big decision, the right time to go on him, because I think you will have to get him. It's just going to be when is the time right.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of people were asking me this week, should I trade Fermor to Katoa? And I said I personally wouldn't do it. So I hope a couple of people followed me on that one. Because, Fermor scored pretty decently over the likes of Fafita and Eli Katoa. What did he actually score? Let me just get that up.
60. What was it?
65. Yeah, so
I think he's solid, man. He's a very underrated back row. I think the other thing people forget about, he's coming back from an ACL. So he missed all of last year with an ACL he did, I think, in pre-season. Prior to that, go and have a look at his stats from 2022, I think. He was averaging over 60 and regularly scoring tries. I had Fafita on one edge, him on the other. And it was for more scoring. Yeah. Probably not as much as Fafita. But this guy's heavily underrated. It's a good shout. I got on him in a heap of drafts. So I think I may have started with him in Classic and then just jumped off on the buy because I didn't like what I saw.
Yeah, same. I did the same. I had him to start.
Yeah, you got to let him get a bit of that fitness back, and he's getting better every week, and he's going to be safe for 50 pretty much every week with the work that he does. So yeah, I think that's a fair shout.
Yeah, I wish I didn't have to sell him, but I had to sell him to go Fermor to May.
I was something similar. It was like I had to do. It was like, do I keep Fermor for 4 or 50 or whatever it was, or cut him and use the cash elsewhere? I was similar.
What I found disappointing about this game was to get a really true understanding of what Danny Levi's base is without a try every week. God, it hurt. This wasn't the week where this hurts to be the week where he was my 17th player that was actually playing. Like, I didn't have anyone else I could choose, and I was like, oh, let's give it a go. They're versing the Titans. Yeah, there's no one else I can pick, and that 15 paired with Satili's 3 and Hammer's 4 hurts me this week. So people ask where it went wrong. That's one of the spots.
Do you play draft, Charity?
No.
Mate, you got to get into draft, because this is one of those weeks where you just don't look at Classic and you just focus on your draft teams. You need to get into draft, man. That's rough. I feel for you there as a super coach addict myself. That does sting. So
listen, I've been doing pretty well. I've been climbing up the rankings because I had a shocker start. But climbing up the rankings, it was exponential. I went up about 50,000 places in a couple of rounds. I was like, look at me go. I'm improving. And this week just is going to shoot me back down 50,000, I reckon.
It's the ultimate leveler, isn't it? But head up.
We'll get through it.
You'll be right, mate. You'll be right. Always next week.
Anyone else I think AJ Brimson, actually, I wanted to mention, moved last minute from center into the 5'8" spot, and then Jaden Campbell goes off, and we finally get to see him back at fullback, and my God, did he impress. What do you do? What do you do with this Titan spine?
Who'd they run? So it was Foz 6. Who played halfback today?
Foz played 7. AJ played 6.
He wasn't named to play 6 though,
No.
wasn't someone got ruled out or something? Was it Boyd got dropped or something?
Yeah, Boyd got dropped. Or I didn't hear anything on why, but I just remember checking, and there were just numbers on the NRL app all over the place. So yeah, I don't know what you do.
I mean, he looks good again, and he's not injured and he's fit. He runs hard, goes hard. Like he nearly won that game for them today at one point where he picked up that ball off a kick and went straight through the Raiders. But yeah, I'd have him at fullback. It's just hard because I don't think you can put Jaden Campbell at 6. So,
well, Jaden Campbell with the re-aggravating might force the hand, and hopefully they don't bring Keeney back in, and they
You've got to play Brimo in the halves. You've got to give him the ball. Like you can't pigeonhole him out on an edge at centre and just leave him out there. He's the one that will create things. You give him the ball, let him roam as a 6 or. It's just hard because they've got he's the utility that can play all those different positions, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah, he passes the eye test, always puts in. I think the other guy as well that's probably he's not really talked about heaps. He's probably talked about in circles, but he's gone a bit under the radar for me, but he's establishing himself as a pretty elite sort of centre winger, and that's Matt Tomoko. He's going to be over 700K now, so well and truly missed that boat, but floor of about 50. Didn't bag any meat today, but looks like he's just such a handful every time he runs the ball. Hard to bring down, hard to stop. So, yeah, plenty of points in him, but, yeah, he's a bit of an investment now at 700 plus.
Yeah, 100%. I had him for the end of last year, and he did pretty decently for me, which is good.
Yeah, good pod.
Anything else to mention with this game?
No, I don't think so. Just a funny game of rugby league.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the other thing with this is it reminds me, like being a Newcastle fan, guys like Cogger and Hastings, the kicking game in the modern game is so important. Guys like Jamal Fogarty, the extra height they get on the kicks and the pressure that puts on the back. Guys that can put up the floaters like your A-Rays, your Matty Burtons, your Clearys. The kicking game now is such an attacking weapon, and you can't just have those repetitive, constant end-over-end lollipop sort of punts that we're used to. So, yeah, it was just something I noticed. The Fogarty's kicking game has been amazing as well. But, it's just such an extra weapon these days. But,
it's like I think
his kicking game was really good.
If you put a Jamal Fogarty into the Bulldogs team, Bulldogs are top 4 right now almost. Like, considering how inconsistent some of the other teams have been this season and how open that top 8 is, Bulldogs have been right in the competition. All they've needed is a game-managing 7 that can really steer them around the park. If you get a Fogarty in there, I reckon they win 2 or 3 more out of that. And next thing you know, they're top of close to the top of the table. So, I mean, that's my opinion. It's probably going to be contested, that hypothesis, but we'll see where we go.
I still don't know how Hutcho keeps Sexton out of a 7. I know Hutchinson tries hard, but fuck me, the bloke's there's more bloody talent in a wet paper bag. Drew Hutchinson, I'll take it. If he hears about it, let him know. I'll take him on. But how Sexton has to be in that side for me, I don't get it. Anyway, so I digress.
Yeah, no, of course. Look, I think that's it for the games. Just really quickly, touch on sort of if you know what you're going to do or if you need to recover. Do you have any plans for what you're going to be doing for next week? Trades, captaincies, whatever need be, whatever we want to touch on. What's your plans for next week?
No, just quickly, obviously the hammer injuries, there's going to be, 700 odd K there. I don't know what his break even was, but probably I'm looking at about 750K to spend. And I've also got Wishart as my second halfback. So I just started with him because I only was starting with Cleary or Hines, and I picked Hines to start the year. Wishart was I didn't expect much of him, but he actually did all right a couple of weeks ago, and the time is now to get off him. So I got a couple 100,000 in the bank. Maybe it's a Wishart, Brooks up to 7, Strange into 6, and a new pair of centre wings come in. Hammer and Wishart for something else, but also need to prepare for Cleary coming back in 7, 8, 9, whatever that's going to look like, because I don't have him and I have to put some money away for him.
I've got a sneaky one that I'm playing up with. Right, so we were talking about Hammer to Lomax potentially. Mm-hmm. I'm contemplating a Hammer to Garrick, who's coming back from the HIA and the Sea Eagles have the Titans next week.
I don't mind it.
With Garrick as a goal kicker, with the edges all over the place now, with potentially Campbell out, Tanner Boyd potentially dropped, you're probably going to see AJ either in the halves or at fullback. So you're going to have either a new center or someone who's not maybe like a Harley Smith Shields or something, Jojo Fafita. I think we're going to have a very inexperienced edge there, and Garrick will probably most likely pick that apart. So I'm very, very interested in doing that. But we'll see. We'll play out how the week goes. Scoop saying that he's going to have Hammer and Brooks to Iro and Cleary. And if Cleary isn't coming back, maybe SJ.
Heavy. I like that. I think that's probably something I might have to look at soon. Iro, I think's not necessarily must have, but if he's going to keep that spot, it's going to be hard to ignore, especially if you've got a Talangi or a Gagai sitting on the bench there. You probably ideally want to make some cash out of it, but you can regenerate and fix a dead spot. So that's fair. I like those.
It brings up a very good point as well. Spicy watch for Corey Waddell with Burbo out for a while. That is a very, very pod play. I like it because Waddell's been playing some really good football. So I think that's it for what I'm thinking about for next week. Brent, we were supposed to do this at the start with a tumultuous start to the thing. Do you want to just give us a quick understanding of who you are, your background? And
apologies. That was my bad as well. I dialed in late on the lads and then had some tech issues, but so my bad. My name's Brent. I used to be on a podcast a couple of years ago now called BG on Game Day. So a good mate of mine, Joshy King, and I just always played Supercoach, loved talking it, and just started up our own thing at my joint a few years ago now. Did that for 4 or 5 years, 6 years or something like that. We always just sort of fucked about and never took it too seriously, but met a great bunch of blokes out of it. Still guys we talk to this day, which is pretty cool about Supercoach, right? You get to sort of make friends with people you never meet at some point for years just playing together. But yeah, so that was sort of my background. But yeah, I've been playing fantasy footy like NRL for probably like 15 years now. Absolutely love it, and Mrs. hates it. Getting my son into it now. His first season this year, so I've got the legacy to live on. Maybe he might do a bit better than me in the overall rankings probably, but the next generation has begun, which is exciting for me because now who's got that assist or did he get that? I'm loving it. So I'm creating a beast. I'm creating an absolute beast. And I've got 2 sons, so I can't wait till the second one's old enough as well.
Love it.
But yeah, that's me, mate. That's me.
Anything to plug?
No, not really. I've got a little side card business. We'll give that a plug if I can. Not Supercoach related, but I open NRL cards, footy cards. It's called Pack Lords. Pack Lords Breaks on Facebook if you're into NRL, NBA, anything like that. I'll plug that. That's my little side thing with a mate of mine that I do. If you like sports cards, that sort of thing, come check it out. Say hello. If you've got any questions, hit me up. But yeah, that's me, mate. Appreciate it.
How good. Thanks for having you on. And Scoop, I know Scoop would be saying thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Looking forward to next week. All of those things. Drop a like, subscribe. Do all of those what are the YouTube things that you need to do to help us grow this channel? Yeah, exactly. TikTok. Follow. Yeah. I've got a Mr. Charity TikTok that has about 2 videos on it. It's great.
I'm too old for that stuff now, mate.
Great having you all. Make sure you go to the Supercoach Hub YouTube page and you'll have a link to the Discord. It's actually such a great community. I'm just loving the banter in it. I'm loving the jokes. I'm loving the analysis that we get out of it. So make sure you're a part of it. Hopefully see you guys around. And I think that's it from me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good one.
See ya.